mean, it's coaching in cars, man.
A lot of limiting beliefs out there, thinking, how in the world am I going to accomplish something like that?
Not dissimilar to anybody.
The greatest risk we were afraid of that did not come to fruition is...
I started a new business tomorrow. The first thing I would do is hire a coach.
All right, so we got Coachin here, all the way up from Baton Rouge.
All the way.
Had to drive because of the snow, got stuck.
South Louisiana blizzard, just like every other year.
That's got to be like a 100-year storm.
It was, 1895 was the last time it was that bad. So,
Jeez.
Yeah, it was interesting for sure.
So all your flights got canceled?
All flights canceled, and then, of course, elevated bridges throughout Louisiana because of low-lying areas, so then you got ice on all of those. So route was interesting for sure, even all the way up through central Alabama. But we made it.
So, yeah, I drove 11 hours to get here, not just for this. You have annuals with clients up here, but
correct.
I like to say it's just for this.
Of course. That comes secondary.
Yeah, fair enough. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and then what you actually do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Coachin, founder and head coach of Exit Momentum. We're a business coaching and strategic planning firm. We work with entrepreneurs and their leadership teams, typically $5 to $100 million in revenue, that are growing, having success, but really trying to get to the next level, or things have gotten really chaotic in the growth. And then oftentimes, they're really trying to figure out how to set up kind of that next stage of expansion. And quite frankly, sometimes just trying to get their life back. Like, they've had a lot of success and the business has overtaken their life. So what's interesting for us is, we're not necessarily always focused on people. A lot of people assume that people come when they're in trouble. This is a different kind of trouble. So anyway, it's been the journey of the last 6 years. I've got obviously significant background before that. But for the last 6 years, we've been coaching, and we've coached now over 100 firms across the country.
Yeah, something really cool. When I joined the team and when we were going through, I would call it like the interview process,
Right.
but ultimately like just the getting to know each other, the dating phase. I thought what was really cool is that we only accept coaches that have actually lived the things that we teach and have actually scaled businesses and been a part of that journey, because there's this intangible thing that you get when you have the cuts, the bruises, the scars, and all, of everything going through it. So maybe go back before head coach, before Exit Momentum, and before the system, and say, like, this is what I came from and why I decided to do this work.
Yeah. Grew up in the retail space for years, kind of into high school and college. Loved the business, was a apparel buyer, loved that, but basically maxed out my income in my early 20s. I was like, well, that's not a good idea. So got into the payments business, so sales role, selling to small to medium-sized businesses, and wound up contracting with almost 1,800 over a couple-year period, which just laid in a tremendous foundation of talking to owners of small to medium-sized businesses. Got super interested in some of the technology things that were happening then, and was fortunate enough to help build some new divisions, working with strategic partners to start to understand channels of distribution, start to understand how to activate those things in partnerships, and really in that also saw this technological wave that was coming in the payment space. So as payments started to change, mobile was coming out, there was just a lot happening, and just saw the interest I had in that, and had an opportunity to leave the payment processor I was with and join some early stage investors who were raising funds for technologies or entrepreneurs to help scale those businesses to either get them operating or take them public or whatever else. It's been about 15 years in that role through a number of ventures, and just learned a lot. Got to spend a lot of time with some incredibly smart, incredibly successful folks, and we had some huge successes. One of the key ones we had was a company we were part of called Firethorn. That was the first mobile banking provider in the country. So we built the first apps that went on a phone. This was before an app store. So this was, working with the carriers, working with the banks, working with all those folks to get all these big brands and big egos to agree. We were able to pull that off. But we also had some times where we raised capital for ventures, and things didn't go as well and didn't go as fast, and we're overcapitalized, and I had to reduce our staff and had to figure out how to still grow the business. And so just a lot of learnings in that, and I'm fortunate to participate in an equity position in a number of those deals. And in the last role I had, I got recruited in to come help friend of mine who has some businesses he and his wife had, and they really wanted to operationalize some things. They're really great entrepreneurs and creators, but not really operationally focused, execution focused. And even though my background was more sales and business development and then moved into executive roles, this was more structure, and I got introduced to the work we do now. So I hired a coach. He came in and we implemented the system and had massive results. We closed 3 profitable divisions to focus on 4. We doubled the business, tripled the net profit, and we were off to the races. And once I saw that how powerful that was, and the fact we had moved to California to do that, we wanted to get back to Louisiana where our family was and girls were and everything. I saw this as the next phase for me. Now, there's a lot in that connects back to my spiritual journey and the ways in which I feel like God had aligned me to those things, but that's kind of the arc of the path, in a few minutes in terms of a lot of things that happened over a 25-year career, so 25, 30-year career.
So we met through a very interesting situation. I know one of the things that you always say is like, my coaches find me.
Yep.
I don't have to go out and recruit, which I love. And we always encourage our businesses, if you have really good values and you have a really good purpose, people will find you. Good
Right.
people will find you, right? So we got introduced through a client of yours up here. I'm curious, what were your thoughts when you first get a text message with a random number on it about coming to work for you?
Highly unlikely this is going to work out, or that I have any interest in connecting with this. So this was I went to work out with Chris and Nick from Legacy Decks, actually my first client, Chris Breen, an amazing friend, an amazing entrepreneur, he and his wife Amy, and I know he's been on your show as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nick runs the sales team, stuff like that, had connected with you, and he's like, I think there's this guy, and I'm like, okay. It was like not necessarily something I was looking for, and most of the times when those come in, it's somebody who's thinks they want to do this and they want to do it kind of as a side hustle hobby, which we're not interested in, or they think there's quick money to be made here, and because they hear about some of the price points and they're like, oh, I can go make a bunch of money and have a lot of freedom and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, so the likelihood this was going to work out was not high. Let's just say it that way.
So what would you say sets us and our firm apart from all the other coaching, all the other systems, all the other people that claim that they can do what we do at a high level?
So, great question. So a couple things. I mean, I think the mechanics of it, I certainly have obsessed about which ones work and what's the least amount we can do to get the highest level of result. And my sense of it is what I know to be true is many of the other systems are very self-serving. The system kind of continues to point to itself to continue to try to drive the value of the brand, the value of their offering and stuff. And so that's a strategy. I'm diametrically opposed to that. Yeah, I want a strong brand. I want people to know who we are and stuff like that, but I want our work to drive to the result for the client first and not the brand or the system first. So there's that piece. Second piece is you can't just get in here, right? Like with many of those systems, as long as you can write the check to get in, it doesn't matter what experience you really have. There really is, they say there's a vetting process, but once you've been in them, and I've been in 3 specific ones, 3 of the 3 very popular ones over the last 6 years, just to understand what they were doing and everything else. Some of the folks, while good people, have no business coaching based on their background and their experience. So that's the other piece of it. And then I think the last is the level of intention and intensity. So I think we have a unique level of intention in the way that we do this work and what's required, and the way that we do it ourselves internally, which then expands to the external part of this and the way that we show up. But then there's an intensity to it as well. And so many of the folks, that's why one of our core values is say what needs to be said regardless of risk, because we are going to have the hard conversations. We are going to step in. And there's a whole bunch of people that, one, aren't capable of that as a human, aren't qualified to do it, or just too scared to do it.
Yeah. The other really cool thing that I love about what we do is we have a team that we work within, and our team is very dynamic. Everybody's got a different background, everybody's got different experiences, and it's cool that we actually live the work that we teach. We do annuals, we do quarterlies, we do all of these things, right? We do weekly meetings and all of that. The other cool thing is we can sit in a room with all of these personalities, all these experiences, and we always find the right answer. Like there's always somebody that's like, what about this? And we're all like, whoa.
Yeah.
So hadn't thought about it from that angle. Now let's explore that because that's interesting. And, marketing and sales, we have people that are, gurus at finance on our team. And it's like, it's very interesting how this team has been able to come together and create something amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, my vision continues to be an elite group of coaches. I'm not crystal clear on how many yet. That's more of a, kind of seeking wisdom and connection to God for me about what I'm called to do, and in terms of that. But my expectation is that the group that's here will be, an elite level group, and will be forged as such. And so we're not after quantity. We are after, and it's even beyond quality, right? There's a level of eliteness that I'm expecting of us, and it's not that we can't work with people that need to work on themselves in the midst of that, but you got to have a baseline to get there, and then you got to go to work on yourself. And if you're not willing to do those things and really push, you don't belong, and you'll be eliminated.
Yeah, and I would also say, like, if you're not open to being coached, because like everybody says, when you say head coach, there's probably people out there that roll their eyes and be like, okay, get it, the title, all of that, but it's like, no, like, we send out messages as a group, we send out messages as a team, and there is always a response, there's always feedback. It's like it's like this relentless pursuit of just growth and change and all of this. And if you're not used to that, and if you're a company and you're not used to that, like, we bring that to the table.
Yeah, I mean, if that's going to make you uncomfortable, and it's not that we can't have a moment to take a breath and celebrate, we can, but certainly internally, and the intensity that I expect and that I bring to our team internally is going to be even higher than even what we at times bring to the client, because I expect we have to do it at the highest level if we're going to represent it that way. You can't go say we're going to be an elite coaching force if we're not actually operating that way. So yeah, as you know, we have hard conversations and we give direct feedback. Yeah. And I specifically chose the head coach title because it is what I am. I could just put CEO on there, but which is true. But to me, it's really founder. I founded this thing, and head coach. I am here to drive the coaching team to get the coaches to do what needs to be done, so the clients get those results. And so I very intentionally chose that title versus, some ego-driven. I'm the CEO. Okay, that's great. But what does that really mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those initial conversations with owners, when you meet a business owner that's out there,
yeah, and
they just, circumstance brings you guys together. Those initial conversations, what does that look like typically? And I mean, I obviously know our process, but generally somebody comes to you and they're like, man, I'm struggling with this and this and this. Like, what's that initial engagement start to look like?
Yeah, so initially with a client, and it's funny because even as you asked that question, it was a thing, when we started, which is different than it is now. So when we started, we didn't have, 100 Google reviews and 100 testimonial videos and all these results and everything else. So the conversation then was the same, but we didn't quite have this fortress of proof, right? Like now it's like, you may not want to work with us and that's totally cool, but you can't argue we don't get results. Like that, like you don't have 100 videos of people on camera volunteering to talk about the results they've gotten and not have, tremendous results, right? So there's that piece. But the conversation now when people come in, it really for us is an exploratory to really determine whether or not as you well know, we call it a discovery call because we want to discover what's going on. Then we call it a fit meeting because we want to figure out if they're a fit for us and we're a fit for them. And so there's some real desire to wind up making sure that is the case. But I think that the energy of it is just to be able to be curious, to listen, to kind of poke a little bit, to see where it is the entrepreneur wants to go. And to me, when we get the chance to talk to the owners and entrepreneurs, they're looking for somebody who can kind of meet them where they are and help them see what they can't see. Even in the first discovery, there's a reason they're on the call. And so, it's really in the beginning helping them, because sometimes they don't even know how to articulate what that is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They know they want to have a conversation, but it's like some of the value of that first even discovery call before we've even gotten the fit meeting is just them helping them find words to put around where they are, what they want,
Yeah.
what excites them, what scares the shit out of them, like all of those kinds of things. And so, in the beginning, it is really that ability to connect, be curious, help start to diagnose a little bit and poke at a few things, not trying to solve anything. So that's where we start. And I think the other thing that happens in that is that really helping them understand this is solvable, this is fixable. You've done great work up to this point, because a lot of them are only looking at what they don't have, and the reality is, 95% of the people we get to talk to up front have had a lot of success, but they don't necessarily feel that way, and or they're worried it's not going to last, or it's going to go away, or whatever else, or there's a cost to them on the personal side that they're trying to figure out how to resolve with, where they put their time, energy, and effort with other passions, with family, or other things. So anyway, that's kind of how things start
engaging with people. Like you said, it's oftentimes like really hard for them to articulate, and we ask one of the questions that we ask is like, why are we even talking, at the end of the day? And it's like, there's always something that spurs that conversation. So, we talk about unruly, unmanageable, chaotic growth, like all of these things. What do those things feel like as a business owner, and what would be some like tipping points where you would say, like, what you're feeling right now, that's why we exist, and that's why you need somebody to walk you through how to grow it?
Yeah, to me, it's where it shows up for this chaotic growth that we talk about is you're looking at a P&L or a scoreboard or metric thing or whatever else, and while there are numbers that tell you things are good, there's this internal thing in you that's going off saying, I am concerned. So there's a mismatch between what the data says and what you're feeling. Now, the reality is lots of people don't have enough data, so that's the other piece of the equation. It's just generally I don't feel strong, and so they're needing that additional help and that additional reassurance. So that's the way it shows up. They're seeing they're not developing. So the other thing that shows up is they've got a set of skills that were incredibly valuable, but it's kind of like it's the same move, right? Like I didn't do any MMA fighting or whatever like that, but imagine a fighter and he or she's got like a couple of key moves that they've had for their career, and so everybody kind of knows like that's how it works, and so that they don't have a way to adjust how they go at things, and they see the world changing, they see the needs of their staff changing, but they really haven't evolved in kind of their skills and ability to kind of deal with the changes that are happening, right? And the last is when, again, they're having success as a business, but when you ask them where they're going, it's kind of like, it's like more of the same versus there's this thing that we're after as an organization and for my life. And so those are the ways in which I see that start to show up, and that gets me to your point, that tipping point where they're like, hey, there's something going off inside of me kind of intuition-wise, or I don't have clarity on how to change my skills and behaviors and habits and stuff like that in the business to be more effective, or, I'm had success, I'm proud, but I don't really know what's going to be different next year. It kind of looks more the same, and that makes me nervous or uncomfortable.
Yeah, that feeling of what's next.
Yeah.
Like, where do we go from here?
Correct.
Or even like I feel like I have a good vision, but my leadership team is not on the same page with me,
right?
Or my leadership team is not executing, or we're bringing all these people into the organization, but they're all leaving. So like, something's off.
Yeah, and I think that's another one that comes up a lot is they're trying to assess the level of talent on their team, and they don't say it this way, but they're trying to figure out if they've outgrown some people. Because they've had success, and there's some people that they love and appreciate for the work they've done in the last 2 years or 20 years. The business is at a spot, they need to go to the next level. They're like, can this person handle marketing as a $50 million company instead of a $30 million company? Can this person handle the finance seat for $15 million company instead of a 5, right? Do they have the skills to go, or have I got some risk there with some of the people having key areas in terms of their ability to manage the complexity of the growth of the business?
Yeah, and it is complicated, especially, some of the owners that we work with, they're still working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. They can't remove themselves from the business because they may have somebody on the leadership team that's weak and they have to pick up the slack. Or we walk into the business and they're sitting, I don't know how many times we walk in and they're sitting in multiple seats, and they're just like, it's like the mediocre of many. Like I'm okay at all of these things. I'm really good at this one thing, but I can't do this one thing because I have to do all of these other things. It's like we always say we would never hire like a graphic designer to, do the books or a P&L or finance or any of those things. It's like, but oftentimes as an owner, you fall into those seats because you have, weak people or you don't have anybody sitting in that seat.
The other thing that comes up too for us now, especially as company scale, is that the leadership team or key leaders are fine, but then there's no layer between that and the execution folks. And so what they haven't done is develop their next generation of leaders. So it's like, okay, we're capped on our growth. We've got some really good people doing the work. We're a good team leading, and there's this, massive, chasm in between that they're like, holy crap, like we have not really developed the next generation of middle managers or emerging leaders. And so that is a huge part of, our business now in terms of helping them identify that and how to do that, because they don't just show up tomorrow. That takes years to develop, or you've got to invest time, energy, effort in recruiting, hiring, and onboarding the right ones of those, and that doesn't always work.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of dollars to find an executive headhunter that goes out and literally just finds that one needle in a haystack for you. Or you could develop within, and be a farm system and find people that are good and have the aptitude to do it and the kind of the skills, the God-given abilities to do it, but they just haven't been led well. Like I used to call them like work orphans, because it's like we have all these really good people, like these good kids coming in to work for me, but nobody's led them, nobody's giving them any direction, and it's like now it's bestowed upon me to do that for them as a manager or a leader inside of this business. And it's like now you take it a step further, it's like these companies are really good people that are doing a really good job, but they just lost their way along the way, or they don't know what the next thing is. And it's like it's bestowed upon us as a coach to go in there and help get them back on track and get them what they're good at. Next step for Exit Momentum, what's the next step for us as a team, and what does 1 to 5 years look like out for us?
So next step is continuing to solidify and drive the brand. So we've made a lot of investments in terms of marketing, so the visibility of who we are, what we stand for. So much of the growth up to this point has just been off of my network and the clients that I've had, and then as you guys have come along and started to build that practice off of, many times introductions or relationships I have, and then you bring in your own. So that's been part of it. But we've got significant time, energy, and effort invested in having more people across the country know that we exist and what we do. So that's so there's this brand elevation piece, right? There's continued upgrade to the experience we have in the session room and what we do with clients, in particular with a deep focus right now on an emerging leader program. So beyond the work we do with the executive team or leadership team, whatever you want to call it, C-suite, people call it different things, where we're doing the business coaching and strategic planning, there is this identification of key and emerging leaders in the organization that we're then helping them develop outside of those traditional business coaching and planning sessions, so we can help have them ready to really step in a meaningful way. So there's that. There's also ancillary services beyond that, either through partnerships or internally. So there's more we're doing in terms of financial support, and obviously some of that we do internally as far as helping people really think through the numbers and get great at predicting and seeing the future and all stuff. But there's also connection that we have to other parties. So I feel like we're going to continue to add certain services to the mix. We're looking at an upgrade on how we talk about marketing and what they do there. Obviously the work that you've done, Jason's done on the sales process as well. So more specializations in key areas to be able to do these kind of I don't want to say boot camps, but these like short engagements to really like accelerate people faster in key areas where there's some gaps, so that we have that on the menu. We're not going to go full on, everything's custom. What do you want? Whiteboard, let's figure it out every time. That's not how we work. We're going to work from a recipe and a process, because I've seen systems that have no process and it's an absolute shit show as far as what do you do, and the client needs to know we're going to follow a particular path with flexibility in that and customization in that, but still follow the path. So those are the key things. I mean, at some point, we'll be, an 8-figure coaching practice, which is pretty substantial in this space. My expectation is we'll wind up with, somewhere around 20 coaches on the team, would be my guess. Obviously, if I get led another place, we get led another place.
Yeah.
But right now, that's the plan in terms of those things. So there's a marketing focus, there's some specialization focus, there's some development of the existing team and attracting, a lot of maybe owners that have already sold their business that are interested in still doing great work, or other people that have been more specialized in the way they work and they want to come a little broader in terms of the coaching that they want to be able to do, assuming they've got the background necessary. So that's really the direction of that. Obviously, we've got a 1-year plan, we've got a 3-year picture, we've got a BHAG, we've got all those things just like our clients do. So we're out to go get it and break that $10 million mark in terms of our approach. And really all that does is equate to the impact we have on our teams, those companies, because that's going to create hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars worth of valuation and revenue, and ultimately impact for lots of folks that work for them in terms of kids being able to go to school, people buying homes. Like, there's all kind of ancillary benefits that we think about in a meaningful way of our clients that may never even know that we even really are around. They're aware there's something going on, but we're helping create that for them. So that's the bigger focus for us, more than ourselves. If we do that part, we'll get the rest.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I would just say, like, a quick commercial for what we do. Like, me personally working for and with Exit Momentum, that was a life changer. And I also know that there's a lot of companies that would say the exact same thing, that it literally changed my life, personally, professionally, and all the things in between.
Yeah.
So I would just say, like, getting to where we want to go with the strong purpose that we have, I'm excited about the amount of lives that we get to touch along the way.
Right.
And, a part of our purpose, the lives that we're going to touch, that I'm never going to meet those people, and they're going to never even know that I exist or my name or any of those things. So, like, there's just something exciting about that purpose that's out there, and the fact that we're living that out is, it's exciting,
Agreed.
So I'm not going to let you go without a 30-second commercial on why to hire Ren as a coach from my head coach's perspective. So I'm going to put you on the spot. So 30 seconds, tell people why they should hire me as a coach.
I don't know.
Great.
No, I'm kidding. No, to me, what the reason I would say that people need to hire you is that there is real business experience leveraging these tools actively for 6, 7 years, 8 years inside of businesses, both highly successful, helping take a business from 25 million to 120 million dollars. So think about that kind of growth and that kind of impact, the number of people involved, the complexity of it in terms of product offerings, locations opening, all that kind of stuff. And you having been the internal coach, you've lived it, expanded it, fought through those things. So there's just real density in your level of experience in the midst of that. And then the fact that you've got a clear understanding across the core disciplines of business, right? I mean, in my evaluation of you understanding marketing and what it means to deliver a message to the market, your understanding of sales and taking somebody through a psychological process, your understanding of operations and the fact that we got to deliver a product or service that helps drive referrals and build a great reputation in the market, your understanding of finance and the way in which we got to measure those and deal with resources, your understanding of people in terms of the psychology of people and how to manage those in a business, technology and the way that it can add value and your comfort with that. So to me, it's like, and obviously this is way longer than 30 seconds, you're welcome. But to me, if I had to sum those things up, it would really be real experience using these tools with bullets flying, live action, not theory, not read the book, and then real understanding across the core disciplines of a business: marketing, sales, ops, finance, people, technology, valuation. You've got real awareness of those things and intelligence and intellect around them, and so that's critical in terms of the success. And the reason it matters compared to many of the other coaches they may talk to is lots of other folks read the book, went to the boot camp, never used the tools. So imagine I come in, like, we got this amazing car, we drive into your garage, like, you got all the tools, I get out, like, I'm useless. You know what to do. I'm useless. Like, I know what these tools are, but I don't know how to use them to have this vehicle do something differently, right? So I can understand it conceptually, but if I haven't done it, I haven't done it. And then understanding how all the systems that create what this vehicle is interact with one another to have us drive down the road is a whole different thing as well. And so that to me is where you've shined, and what I appreciate, and the reason I was willing to allow you to join the team.
Yeah, what the listening team doesn't know is off camera, Colin said every second after 30 seconds he's going to bill me for. So that's going to be an expensive bill, but I appreciate it. It'll pay off in the end. I know it will.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I appreciate you coming up here. I know we're heading to another engagement or getting you to another engagement, but at the end of the day, he's a busy man. It was awesome to be able to have you on here. And it's pretty rare that you get up to Greenville. And we get this opportunity. So I just appreciate it. I appreciate you coming up here. And like on a personal note, I appreciate you and the opportunity that you've given me and my family. Like it literally has changed our lives. And I'm super excited for that. And I'm super excited for what the future looks like.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.